It was amazing how many people said, whatever you do, you'd be nuts if you bought Wida. It will ruin you. The authorities didn't want to touch it, National Trust weren't interested. There was even a planning application for chalets on the lawn, and we thought, my God, this would be a disaster for it. So if at the very least we can just buy it and save it and do nothing and keep the water out of it, it would be better than what was going to happen. It's a great haven for wildlife, and that, again, is something that's very important to me. I keep bees. It's lovely that the swallows come back year in, year out. The peacocks are amazing. They came in 1828, they came with a wisteria, and it was thought that the family introduced them because they wanted to add a bit of colour to the garden. So they're almost like great colourful plants that suddenly sort of pop up all over the garden. And you do get used to the call. It's a very melancholic call, and there's a great kind of strain of melancholy. We have 10 acres of gardens here now, and when we first came they were completely overgrown, and you couldn't really see anything. It was just all weed and buttercup, and so really we've been trying very hard to just get back to the bones of the garden and to sort of clear up, you know, to clear up the structure really. And one of the big projects has been the fountain here, which is basically a gravity-fed fountain. It runs along an open leat along the hillside up here and collects in a tank, and it's literally just gravity that's pushing the water through, but it takes an endless amount of effort. Wida was the last house in Wales to have a full-time bard on its payrolls. And so there's a lot of early bardic poetry written about the house, and it tells us so much about how the gardens looked, and it talks about mazes and topiaried arbours, and we know that the gardens were incredibly formal at that period. It's quite interesting because we had a bad drought about 10 years ago, and some of the paths, the old paths, actually lifted through the gardens, through the grass. You could actually see them coming up. You could see the bones of the old garden coming through the grass. So it's been very interesting to plot and chart, you know, how the gardens might have looked for, say, in Sir John Wednesday. And we've also got some very early yew trees here. It's said that one of them, which is called the lover's tree, it's about 1,000 years old. So it's an interesting thought. You know, what came first, the house or the tree? And did they decide to build the house here because of its proximity to the tree? We've just set up the Wida press, which is a bit of a new venture for us. And it's a treadle press, a platen press, and you literally put the type in here, and when the paper goes in, it gets printed and you pull it out. And you have to be careful you don't take your fingers off in the process. But it's hugely labour intensive. We typeset by hand. Peter does the lino cuts and I bind the books as well in my spare time. Perhaps one of the most interesting aspects of the restoration has been our panelled room, which we actually found in America, of all places. It was sold to William Randolph Hearst, who everyone will know as Citizen Kane, who was an American billionaire, a newspaper magnate, and he would literally go around Europe looking for great cultural treasures, and he would often take them, you know, discover them and then take them back to his castle in California called San Simeon, or Hearst Castle as it became known. And we were lucky to be given a sale catalogue from 1921 of when all Wida's artefacts and interiors were sold, basically. And we traced it to the Metropolitan Museum in New York, and they said, sure, we've got your room, would you like it back? As we opened the crates, it still actually smelt of Wida. There was that amazing smell of, I don't know, fern and wood smoke and beeswax and limestone and everything that goes into making a house like Wida, you know, that deep, profound smell of life in an old house. The most important thing these days is the fact that other people are enjoying Wida as much as, hopefully as much as we are. And that, I think, in this mad modern world that we live in and the pace at which people live, I think it's important to have places that can become a haven for people, and that's really important to us. You know, a lot of people who come through the gate, they comment on the fact that it has a very profound atmosphere, and especially when you walk into the house and into the courtyard, it embraces you somehow. It's a very safe feeling, and it's a very good feeling, and sometimes I think it would be nice not to have to go into the real world again. It would be nice just to stay here, but of course one can't, you know, the reality of life is that you have to get out there and do what you do, but it's always a wonderful place to come back to, and I think, you know, we're so lucky to be here.